All right, for 31 Days of Touretters,
Yep.
I have the privilege of welcoming Mr. Patrick O'Leary. Hello, Patrick.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm fantastic, and how are you?
Doing really great.
Fantastic. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from my house in Kirkland, Washington.
How did the love for writing games start for you?
I can remember when I was probably about 9 years old, formulating the question in my head. I was playing games likely on the NES or maybe even the SNES at that time. Uh, but then I formulated the question in my head finally, how are games made? And that's really what started it all. Was really even asking someone how they're made, and they're like, "Oh, they're made on a computer." And that fostered then I immediately jumped on MS Paint or something and started drawing out my designs for some space shooter game that I never actually followed through on. I tried really hard to teach myself programming because there weren't really a ton of what we would consider STEM, classes like coding and robotics and stuff. There was like a after school robotics thing, but I never got into that. But anyways, there wasn't really much coding itself taught, and I never had a really easy time of grasping the core concepts at the time. It was still really small, and all the programs were really geared towards getting you into the game development industry. Um,
Okay.
and it was really honestly one professor the way he taught um, like an advanced programming class really I can't even put my finger on it, but suddenly I felt like I went from not really understanding everything and kind of wallowing around in code to suddenly everything's kind of clicking. And really, I want to put it down to the way he even taught the class because he would have very specific, like, he would use computers to grade your computer code. Like, it was all that, like, cut and dry. Like, here's what is expected. The lines can't be longer than 80 characters. And so when I have a lot of really clear-cut rules to go by, then suddenly, like, I'm less concerned about all this other stuff and I'm focused just on the problem. And once I found that, like, inner confidence, um, really, I changed my mind from thinking that I was actually going to use this degree as an en route to get into the design side of the industry. And I really became much more confident as a programmer, and that's for the last nearly 9 years now. I've been working full time with code, either making games directly or working on technology related to games.
Being given those parameters enabled you to focus on what it was you actually wanted to do.
Absolutely, it made it answered a lot of questions, I guess, in advance, and it allowed me to focus on it specifically that because otherwise my mind's bouncing around from everything and then nothing gets done. But that's something I've taken into my professional life as well. I've started writing very specific to-do lists for myself to do, otherwise I'm thinking about everything at once. I can't focus on any one thing and then nothing gets done and people notice.
Before you got the diagnosis of Tourette syndrome and ADHD, do you feel that those things were adversely affecting your work and your work performance?
Oh, absolutely. I was told in no uncertain terms my job was at stake. That I had, in addition to, I think, depression, all of those kind of coalesced into suboptimal performance in at least the manager I had at the time's eyes. All I really said is, "Yeah, I have Tourette's. This is really what it looks like. Don't worry about it." I think the fact that it had been so long it had gone so long undiagnosed, made me internalize a bit the sort of talk that was directed at me with regards to what was perceived as a lack of effort or inability in certain executive functioning areas. Coming to the realization that perhaps my brain just works a little bit differently and needs different parameters to work in, or at least a little bit of wiggle room to figure out how to control my brain to achieve the desired result. Actually, to that point, like, honestly, coming to the realization that ADHD was an issue for me was freeing in a way. It also allowed me the opportunity to request accommodation at work. And the fact that I work for such a large company, Microsoft, um, they have the resources to accommodate people. And there's a they have a guy for ADHD, Pete. He's a coach. He's wonderful.
Uh-huh.
He taught me these techniques of, really tracking things and both writing to-do lists and then writing logs of how I worked, to not only for my sake, but to help keep everything logged so that I was accurately, reviewed come review time as well.
Aside from getting properly accommodated, you obviously probably do a lot of teamwork, do a lot of work in open space. What's a workplace environment like for you?
Um, so actually, without the need for an accommodation request, and actually due to the business need of the fact that I am the one person on my team up in Redmond right now. So we have people all around the world, but I'm the one person who has the authority to see the stuff and work on the technology that I do. So I actually have an office that is kind of cushy compared to the open offices that most of the rest of Microsoft's employees are currently being put in.
So nice private office at Microsoft.
I know, like, not even my boss's boss gets. They're all
Yeah.
sitting right out in front of me.
Well, you know what? If somebody complains, you can call it an accommodation, both
I
for
know,
the
right?
sensitive work that you do and for your personal sensitivities.
Absolutely.
Do you have any brag-worthy programs that you've worked on? Programs, games?
For 3 years, I was on the Minecraft team here at Microsoft.